boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. It's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things through a common sense lens. And I probably, like many of you out there, especially if you clicked on this video, wasn't a huge fan of the original Hocus Pocus movie. I mean, back in the 90s from Disney, I mean, that thing was just peak. It was a great family-friendly Halloween movie. It wasn't overly scary, but it had some nice little thrills in it. It had some zombies. The Sanderson sisters were great. I mean, Bette Midler singing in that movie was absolutely fabulous. It was so good. It was such a good time, and it is one of my wife's absolute favorite movies of all time. So, of course, when there was a sequel announced, she got very excited, as well as a lot of other fans out there, and this thing ended up being a hit on Disney Plus's streaming service. Why they didn't put this out in theaters, especially right around the Halloween time, absolutely boggled my mind. I think that movie would end up making a bunch of money in the box office, and definitely a lot more money than they would have made at Disney Plus. But hey, that's Disney. A lot of time they don't like to put their sequels out into the theater for some reason, unless it's a Marvel movie or something from Star Wars. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, it's one of them situations where it came out there, it was a really big hit. Now, the fan and the audience reception wasn't the greatest out there. It's got a pretty low score over there on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience out there. And my wife, although she did tell me she did enjoy the movie, it definitely was clearly not anywhere near as good as the first one. And I haven't watched the whole thing all the way through, but I've seen some bits and pieces, and it just kind of really was kind of one of those, yeah, definitely not as good as the original. Well, obviously, with that kind of momentum and being such a smash hit out there on Disney Plus, you'd think that, of course, it would make a lot of sense for Disney to, of course, just greenlight the third one, go ahead and put it out there, strike while the iron is hot, and, of course, while the actresses are still alive as well, because Bette Midler ain't getting no younger, boys and girls. You'd think that would be something that happened, but obviously it's been very much a lot of from Disney and everybody else involved with the whole project out there. Well, we've got a few updates, boys and girls. We've got something from the actresses out there, and apparently they are getting just as impatient as all of the fans out there, and I don't blame them one bit. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see over here from thatparkplace.com, Hocus Pocus 3 is still brewing, but the witches want Disney to pick up the pace, and I think that's fully understandable. Like I said, these ladies aren't getting any younger. None of us are, ladies and gentlemen, and so it's completely and totally understandable that they need to get something like this done. I think one of our guys out there in the chat, JRR24, had a great idea of making an animated series out of something like this, so then you could continue on with the Sanders sisters on whatever kind of adventures you want to do, and the ladies continue to just voice act that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, we know Disney likes them some live action these days, and since that's the format it's always been in, it's going to be one of those things going that way, continuing going forward. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take this article from That Park Place, getting all of the juicy details, see what the sisters are saying out there, as well as what the current updates that we do have from Disney for over the past couple of years or so. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2K. We're sailing our way towards 2,100, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below, ladies. What do you think about all of this? Are you excited for Hocus Pocus 3? What did you think of Hocus Pocus 2? Do you think Disney should continue on with this franchise? Or do you think after the second one, it should all just be done? If they do a third one, will you be excited to rush out and see it as soon as it comes out there on Disney Plus, like so many people were with the second one? Let us know about all that in the comment section down below. If you support the channel, please check the links in the description as well. And honestly, definitely please share, leave comments, like on this video. This is Hocus Pocus isn't that big of a franchise out there. This video probably isn't going to get a lot of traction in the algorithm. Honestly, the main reason I'm doing this video is because my wife's such a huge fan of Hocus Pocus. It would just feel wrong not to do this and talk about this. It's kind of like whenever I talk about the Wednesday situation over there on Netflix as well. So let's go ahead and get into this article, boys and girls. And this is one of my favorite parts also as well. This article is written by, of course, our dear sweet Raven Redgrave, who is, of course, the wife of Master of the Total Defense Shogun, who are, of course, have the YouTube channel Gothic Therapy, which if you haven't already gone and checked them out, make sure you go and check them out. They are a very wonderful couple. They are lovely people. I absolutely adore both of them. I've got to meet them in person before, and they are absolutely fabulous folks. I think Raven and my wife would get along really, really well. So please go check out all their stuff out there. So from Raven Redgrave, obviously a pseudo name out there, at thatparkplace.com. After months of silence, Hocus Pocus 3 is back in the news thanks to Sarah Jessica Parker. Well, there we go. Appearing on Watch What Happens Live, Parker confirmed that whilst there's no official movement yet, the original trio is ready to fly. And I mean, it seems like the actresses love the roles. It's very iconic for them. I mean, I can't go to a con practically without seeing one version of the Sanderson sisters. I mean, I've seen a gender bender version of the Sanderson sisters, which was absolutely hilarious. I've seen some girls do a really good job of the Sanderson sisters out there. Like, it's just one of those things that it is a It is something that has been a generational movie that has had a major cultural impact. And the ladies obviously recognize that. I guarantee you there are a lot of families and a lot of kids that if they see Sarah Jessica Parker at an event, that's the first thing they're going to ask her about is Hocus Pocus and how much they loved her in. Needless to say, they're not going to remember from the other show. So Sarah Jessica Parker says, no more developments other than we would like to do it. We have been having some conversations. So clearly things are still in the mix. The potion is still brewing in the cauldron. They just don't have any official word as to what's coming on right now. And there's some explanations for that. And that Park Place does a really good job. Raven does a really good job of panning all of those out. So we're going to go over those as well as what we've heard from the actual creatives involved, like the guys that are the director and the writers and those kind of people. They've also got some comments from them from not too long ago as well, in case you missed that. So definitely stick around. That's more than we've heard in a while. Disney first announced the third film was in development 2 years ago, following the debut of Hocus Pocus 2. But since then, it's been near radio silence. And yeah, the thing, like I said at the beginning of the video, the thing absolutely smashed the numbers out there on Disney+. So it was pretty much one of those green light right from the get-go things. Disney was like, yeah, we got to win. People are actually watching our streaming service. Yay, let's do another. But obviously, a lot of things have happened in the last couple of years. Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker all reprised their iconic roles as the Sanderson sisters in the 2022 sequel, which saw them resurrected once again for the Halloween hijinks. The follow-up may have been 29 years in the making, but it still managed to stir up interest among long-term fans. Despite mixed reviews, Hocus Pocus 2 made a strong debut on streaming. According to Deadline, the Nielsen rating showed that the film logged 2.7 billion minutes watched in its opening weekend and claimed the top spot across all platforms that week. 2.7 billion? If any of you out there have watched my videos over either the Daredevil numbers, the Ironheart numbers, or any of the Marvel TV series numbers that we have gone over in the past couple of years, there is nothing that even comes close to rivaling those numbers over the past few years over there on Disney+. So color us shocked there, they greenlit it right away. Disney also announced it was the most watched original Disney Plus movie over its first 3 days, based on internal metrics shown in Deadline's report. Obviously, always take that with a grain of salt, but Disney knows its numbers better than we do. That said, the record-breaking logo comes with qualifiers. The record applied only to original Disney Plus films, including major theatrical titles and legacy properties like Frozen 2 or Encanto. While the launch numbers were impressive, the film didn't generate much staying power. Reactions were mixed, and it largely vanished from the cultural conversation within weeks. And honestly, it's one of them situations when you drop something on a streaming service, that's almost always what happens. It doesn't necessarily always reflect poorly on what the film or the television show actually did or how it resonated with the fans. That's just what happens with streaming. This has always been my biggest argument against streaming, not only from a content creator's perspective, a guy that covers a lot of this stuff. I want the weekly model because then I can continue to talk about it every week and it actually stays in the cultural zeitgeist. With this binge model, when you just drop something right there in there, it's done. It's over with. Everybody that wants to watch it is going to go see it in the first week. And then after that, it's all going to be over and nobody's going to talk about it anymore. If you would have put this in the theaters, you would have had at least a month worth of us talking about it, worth of word of mouth getting around, whether or not for better or worse, and actually it sticking around in the cultural zeitgeist. That's one of the problems with these streaming services and the whole idea of a binge model, which is why you see a lot of the services moving away from that and turning back into more traditional linear television. Because, hey, strange concept. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. As of last year, Hocus Pocus 3 is still technically in development, but very early. Following the WGA strike, screenwriter Jen D'Angelo confirmed to Entertainment Weekly that the creative team was still in the story phase. We've been working on some ideas. It's been fun to dive back into that world, and we have so many directions in which to go. We've only scratched the surface of Hanny Wadham's Mother Witch, so there you go. They obviously have an idea of a lot more stories than what you tell. Apparently, she's full of more stories. Somebody out in my chat pointed out there was a sequel to the original book out there that had a great story and it had a great idea in it, dealing with like the granddaughter from the girl from the original movie. And of course, you bring back the Sanderson sisters and you just kind of do a little bit of a retread, but a new little twist on kind of things. Maybe do something different. Maybe introduce another character. Maybe add a little more demonic stuff to it. I don't know. But either way, having that generational situation, having them come back with the next generation, with the new generation, having to go out there and battle them, that actually makes a lot of sense and would probably make for a really good movie and would probably be much more well received than the last one out there, boys and girls. She added the team were exploring a wide range of story possibilities and expressed hope that they could take these characters on a bunch of fun adventures. Director Ann Fletcher, who helmed Hocus Pocus 2, is expected to return. While Hocus Pocus 2 conjured up impressive streaming numbers for Disney+, its critical reception told a different story. And here's where the problem comes in and could also potentially be one of the reasons why this is delayed. Because trust me, whether or not they admit it publicly or not, Disney looks at all of these numbers and they pay attention to what you, the audience, you, the customer, are saying, despite what the media would have you believe. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an abysmal 47% audience score. That is bad. It's not Acolyte bad, but it's bad. With many reviews calling it a pale imitation of the original. Metacritic echoed that sentiment with a middling score of 56, signaling an average at best reaction from the press. Now, like I said, my wife said she enjoyed it. You know what I mean? She didn't say it was great. She didn't say it was fabulous, but she did enjoy it. So I guarantee you, she probably, just like most of the audience out there, would be willing to line up for the third one just to give it a shot, just to see if they can improve on what they did in the second one. Some outlets praised the cast return, but very few were truly spellbound by the sequel's execution. The Guardian gave the film 2 stars out of 4, describing it as a disappointingly flat follow-up that tries too hard to soften the villains. And I remember covering this. I remember reading this on our live stream that we do at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time during the week. It's one of them situations where I remember covering this, and that made me really sad, too, because my wife was super excited about this movie, and it made me sad to hear all these horribly negative reviews that it turned out that it looked like it just might not turn out very well. Rather than capturing the edgy camp of the 93 original, critics said the sequel leaned heavily on nostalgia, losing its bite in the process. Empire called it cutesy, not campy. Noting that while longtime fans might enjoy seeing the Sanderson sisters again, which I think a lot of people did, the film lacked the boldness and originality that made the first one a cult classic. Even positive reviewers were measured. RogerEbert.com's Nell Minow gave it a 3.5 out of 4 stars, applauding its appeal to both younger audiences and older millennials, but otherwise weren't so generous. So a lot of the time we see that too. Some of these companies out there, some of these reviewers out there will give it like an actual, a decent scoring number, like 3.5 out of 4. So essentially like an 85, 90%, but then you actually go and read it and it's like, man, did you really like this? We've seen that happen a lot on Rotten Tomatoes. Did you really like this? Or are you just trying to be nice and make sure that the Rotten Tomatoes score doesn't end up in the toilet? Sometimes you wonder. Vanity Fair criticized the film's sanitized tone and safe storytelling, suggesting that in an effort to be more inclusive and family-friendly, more inclusive, there's always part of the problem now, isn't it? And it's not like Disney's ever done anything like that before. Now, have they? No, Disney would never completely and totally screw up a story for inclusivity reasons. Now, would they? No, the Bob Iger Corporation would never do anything like that. Now, would they, boys and girls? No, that could never possibly happen. Hocus Pocus 2 lost the quirky menace that made the Sanderson sisters memorable. And you need them to have them a little bit scary. You need to have the kids be creeped out by the Sanderson sisters. They're witches. That's the point. In the end, the critical consensus seemed aligned with the audience's short attention span. While the film stirred up a moment of Halloween nostalgia, it vanished from the cultural relevance just as quickly as it has arrived. With the cast, writer, and director seemingly aligned, and the main question becomes, why hasn't Disney moved forward? The answer is likely lies in broader changes at the studio. Over the past 2 years, Disney has undergone internal restructurings, layoffs, and a reassessment of its streaming strategy. Even well-performing IPs are facing delays as the company tightens budgets and shifts towards fewer, more focused releases. We've seen this happen with Marvel. Kevin Feige, Bob Iger have all talked about this. Same thing with Star Wars, right? They're producing a lot less content. They're producing a lot less movies and television shows because honestly, they've lost billions of dollars on the content that they have produced over the last few years. Disney's broke, boys and girls. No matter what the industry trades want to tell you, no matter what all those naysayers out there want to tell you, Disney is, for all intents and purposes, broke. Now, are they going bankrupt anytime soon? No, they've got way too many assets to sell off long before that would ever happen. But in comparison to what they were, they are broke. You cannot lose tens of billions of dollars over the past few years on pretty much every project you put out and not have the Pied Piper come due. It's just going to happen. The tax collector is going to come for you. At some point, the bills have to be paid. And Disney is broke, boys and girls, and that's part of the problem here. Let's see here. Even well-performing IPs are facing delays as the company tightens budgets and ship towards fewer, more focused releases. That it could explain why Hocus Pocus 3, despite having clear momentum, remains stuck in limbo. And while the Sanderson sisters still have fans, Disney may be weighing whether nostalgia alone can carry a third film, especially after the sequel's relatively quiet legacy. Still, the interest is there. Parker says the cast wants to return. Najami and Midler are game. The creative team is brainstorming. The only missing ingredient is a green light, and the clock is ticking. If Disney wants lightning to strike twice, they want to act before the broomsticks gather dust. And that's absolutely a fact. They want to. You know, for all of those people out there that watched it, that made it such a smash hit on Disney Plus streaming services, you want those, what good memories they still have of that movie, of the things that they enjoyed, you want that still fresh in their mind. If you wait too long, the nostalgia may wear off. The shininess of it might go away. And of course, like we said at the very beginning of all of this, these actresses aren't getting any younger. At some point, and God forbid we lose them anytime soon, but as a guy who covers pop culture and Hollywood and all of this stuff practically on a daily basis, we've seen how many actors and actresses we have lost over the last few years. Young, old, and everywhere in between, right? When it's your time, it's your time. When the Lord calls you home, you're going home, right? That's just the way it goes. None of us know the day or the hour, right? So the more time Disney wastes on this, the less likely we are to be able to have all three sisters back on screen. And if you don't at least have that, it doesn't matter how good the story is, especially after the reception of the second one, they are simply not going to show up if you don't have the Sanderson sisters back. Honestly, it'd be a great idea for you to bring a lot of the actors back from the first one. I don't know how many of them are still alive. I don't know how many of them would still be willing to be involved. But like that story we talked about earlier that our dear sweet friend Spartacus told us about, that would be a great way to do it. Bring back the original cast. You're going to have so many of the fans want to love in and see that kind of stuff. Let's see where this couple is now. Let's see where this family is now. Let's see what they're doing with their lives. Let's see what kind of screwed up, stupid thing is going to happen that brings the Sanderson sisters back then. This is not rocket science to write a good story for this kind of thing. Disney has just been so creatively bankrupt and so possessed by the spirit of the age over their own personal agendas for so very long that they end up sacrificing good storytelling. Fortunately enough, for the Walt Disney Corporation and for the rest of the culture as a whole, a lot of those activists have been fired with inside of these companies. The last few years has seen thousands upon thousands upon thousands of layoffs inside the Walt Disney Corporation. And for better or worse, at least we know a lot of the kind of garbage going forward won't be a bunch of activist agenda nonsense. The real question is, have they already driven away all of the actual good storytelling talent they have? We don't know for sure for now. It'll be a few years before we actually find out. But the Sanderson sisters aren't getting any younger despite their immortality inside of the movies. And Disney certainly doesn't need to screw around any longer, because at the end of the day, when you have something that works, keep doing it. And clearly, at least for now to some degree, Hocus Pocus and the Sanderson sisters does indeed work for Disney. The real question is, are they smart enough to turn this franchise around and actually give us something good? Or are they just going to leave it on the shelf rotting like nothing more than a dear, sweet, very, very dead man we know who is back in his grave at this point, spinning around, wondering when you're going to pull him back out and actually make the fans happy. At the end of the day, Disney, the ball is in your court. The fans are ready, and so is everybody else involved in the creative team. The real question is, what are you going to do? Because at the end of the day, the fans will decide. So make them happy, or we'll see how much worse that Rotten Tomatoes score can get.